Our next speaker is somebody that I hadn't met, but I met through Madhvi's book, one of the advantages of documenting 35 architects. Pratima Joshi, who lives and works 2.5 hours away from me in Pune and does some incredible work in the slums of Pune. Welcome.
Good evening. I would like to thank Madhvi, Shimul, and FCDI for giving me this wonderful opportunity. In fact, I always wondered why Madhvi made me a part of this book, because I think I really stand out as a very oddball in all the case stories that have been documented. But it's a happy feeling to be recognized by the fraternity. I just thought I would quickly first go through what Shelter Associates is about. I mean, it's a non-governmental organization founded by us in '93. And today we have about 64 people working with us. And it's a great mix of people from the community, social workers, GIS experts, and architects who work under one roof. Our core competence areas really has been mapping poverty, doing a little bit of social housing, and right now we are really in the thick of sanitation. We're working under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. We have, over the years, won a few awards, of which we are very proud of the Google Earth Hero Award, where we were the only NGO which was covered in the country. And there have been other awards. I think I'll just skip this. But I think this is not the updated presentation. Anyway, so the slide which I had in between is missing. So I've been asked very often, why did you become a slum architect? I mean, what spurred it on? And rightly so, because when we studied architecture, which was between '81 and '86, we had nothing in those 5 years which even said the word slum. But I think the first seeds were sown when I was a student. I had an outstanding teacher called Michael Slingsby who taught us climatology. And he was also working with the government of Chennai on some relocation projects, which I had an opportunity to visit a couple of times with him. And I saw a very different kind of, it was a different experience because there were different people, the clientele was different. And somewhere, I think, that was my first brush with poverty. I come from an upper middle class Maharashtrian Brahmin family. I had no reason to be in slums ever until I got married, moved to Pune, and I decided, having done a master's course in architecture at the Bartlett School of Architecture, which was called Building Design for Developing Countries. And that's where I decided that when I go back to my country, I would be working in the space of development and not mainstream architecture. We had amazing architects and urban planners who taught us on that course. And coming back and moving to Pune after marriage, I had the opportunity to start my career with Christopher Benninger. He had an institute called Center for Development Studies and Activities, where I met a couple of architects who became good friends, and we decided that let's start Shelter Associates. So we started Shelter Associates. One was an American, one was a Bengali, and I was really from Chennai. I could hardly speak Marathi. And here we were right in the thick of the slums in Pune. And there was a lot of learning for me personally. Most of us think that, oh, the poor, a homogeneous mass. And for the first time, I realized, no, it's a heterogeneous composition. You have people coming from different villages and towns who actually are coexisting, cultures and religions and whatnot. The other thing which took me by surprise was how much reliance they had on their elected members. You and I don't even know sometimes who's the councillor who's been elected. I mean, forget about even going and asking him for a favor. But here, almost every day of their life, whether it was getting a ration card, whether it was getting their children in schools, whether it was getting a water connection, for just about everything, they were dependent on the councillors. And so you found that there were very, very strong political affiliations within slums. And of course, as we went along working, we realized that there were several layers of control, power control within slums. So often the most vulnerable, the most marginalized people never really had a voice. It was always the slumlords or the relatively better off, economically better off people in the slums who always had a say in everything. So our learning was really from scratch. We had to deal with three major issues. One is to make sure that people worked with us as partners, not benefactors, beneficiaries, because that's how normally the poor look up to you. They think you're coming to give them something. But here we said, we're working in partnership, and so we will work together to see how we can make certain services available, improve your environment. That took a little while. The second thing was to make sure that it was an apolitical platform, that they really came together over issues and nothing was influenced by any politician. The third thing was to get them to understand that there was a lot of power in coming together in numbers, a lot of power in information, gathering information on the basis of which they can go and fight for their rights, and the power of saving. So these were some of the things that we started on very early in our journey. And we've been now working in about 6 cities of Maharashtra. When we started out 25 years ago, there were certain issues which I thought were a major deterrent to delivering services in the city. And they continue to be the same issues even after 25 years. And what are those 3 main issues that we have seen that cities consistently fail? First is a non-inclusive approach. The city never really believes in engaging with the poor. To them, it is a headache. They would rather not, because they think this is going to lead to more problems. And what they fail to see is that actually that's the first stepping stone to anything that can be sustainable in the future. But that continues to be the same style of functioning. I was extremely taken aback very recently when I was looking at the detailed project report of Kolhapur city under the Prime Minister's Awas Yojana. And I was horrified to notice that even this DPR was made by a consultant who was appointed by the local government, and who had made that DPR without engaging with the poor. So the poor don't know what is going to the government on their behalf. This is still continuing, and we are moving towards smart cities. The second thing which often amazes me is that there's lack of data. I mean, that is the foundation of any building. And if you don't have data, how are you going to deliver any service, whether it's water, sanitation, electricity, housing? There is absolutely no data with the government. And that is something that we really invested in, which we pioneered in India 20 years ago. We started using GIS technology for the first time to map slums. Later on, we started using Google Earth. We use mobile technology now, and now we've moved on to an open source platform. And there is the third thing that I've noticed consistently, even today, many cities, and I mean, I'm coming from a million-plus city like Pune, they don't have architects or planners working with the city on an everyday basis. So these are the 3 things which I think are sadly lacking. And so over the years, there are 3 pillars that have become really very important in our process of delivering any service to the poor. The first, of course, is data. As I said, spatial data. Second is multi-stakeholder engagement, an inclusive process. And when I say an inclusive process, not just the community, we also include the councillors, the elected members, and of course the administration. And the third is delivering any service on a cost-sharing basis. I don't think that you can give anything free and it will ever be valued. So there's a cost-sharing model that is always implemented at the end of it. Today, under the Swachh Bharat, I'm really very happy that we've been able to facilitate over 12,000 household toilets using the one home, one toilet approach across 4 or 5 cities of Maharashtra. And Pune ranks first in the country, having implemented or reached out to over 46,000 families using our one home, one toilet model and using the data to actually see where they need to go. The city of Pune was not even aware until we showed them the data that 90% of the slums had sewerage networks, and all that they were giving them to date was community toilets, which all of us know are really maybe a stopgap solution or very unsustainable solution. So our one home, one toilet model has been actually made into a short documentary film by the Ministry of Urban Development, and they've put it up on their portal. But what makes me really happy is for the first time we've brought data onto a web-based platform, which is there on our website and which the cities are now linking to. So the Pimpri-Chinchwad, Kolhapur Municipal Corporation have linked their website to our website, and suddenly this data has now become available for every slum in the city. We have done 100% data collection. We've trained slum dwellers to do it, and it's all been moved onto the open source platform. So this is something that we are ready to share with anybody who's interested in doing it. And as you can see, there's a lot of investment that the government is making using our data in building more networks so that more and more people can get toilets. And we're updating all that data on a web-based platform. If you look at these toilets, you won't believe that they're in slum homes, which are very often kacha. People really go all out. We just give them the material. Believe me, none of those tiles have ever been given by us. It's the people who suddenly decide, because they're working in houses like yours and mine, and when they go to build their own toilets, they want the same finishes. And we've had really very entertaining feedback where women have said, I would like to really spend a lot of time in the toilet than anywhere else because it just feels so nice being inside. So these are some of the things. We've done a third-party impact assessment, and I'm so delighted that their findings said that 93% of the people who are given toilets are using them. They did the study 1 year after the toilets were given. The urinary tract infections have come down very, very significantly. A lot of people, a toilet has actually led to a lot of upgradation, either partial or fully. Almost 52% families reported that they've upgraded their home. And every girl child is using 100% users of toilet by the girl child. I think to me that was very, very heartening, because it was terrible when we would go and girls would say, but we don't eat in the evenings. We don't drink water because we're very scared we might need to use a toilet in the dark. So these are some of the fantastic things that we've done, and I'm not going to say much. I'm just going to show you some of the housing projects. As you can see, very inclusive. We've trained women to build. This was a project where the slum was demolished on the first day of the monsoon, and then a year later, what you see is this kind of a building that has come up, and every woman in that slum actually contributed to constructing that. Kamgar Putra, it used to be a flood affected. If you see those pictures, every year they would get flooded. They willingly relocated to 7 kilometers from where they were. And today, it's been 12 years since they've relocated, and there are very, very few instances of people having left that project and moved somewhere else. But even if they have, it's because they've been economically upward mobility. And of course, our third project, which was a citywide project of Sangli, which actually impacted the Rajiv Awas Yojana policy, because for the first time, the government noticed when you have data of slums across the city, you can come out with a holistic plan. We gave a relocation plan for 29 slums, and none of them had to move more than 2 to 3 kilometers from their current place of stay, which meant they were not getting uprooted from any of their social amenities, and they could continue to go to their places of work. This was an extremely successful project. Of course, it's still yet to be occupied, though it's complete. And my last slide is really about, as architects, where do I see us moving? I was just sharing with everyone that I'm very disheartened sometimes that when I started work 25 years ago, Pune had just 2 or 3 colleges of architecture. Today, there are more than 15 or 16. But in these intervening years, there has been no increase in the number of architects working in the field of development. Today, we're talking about smart cities, and I don't see architects really in the numbers that is required, because you're talking about 40%, 60% of the cities undergoing change with the Prime Minister's Awas Yojana. So we really, really need to get our act together. And I think we are in a very unenviable position, because neither are we really hardcore activists, nor are we the government. So we enjoy the confidence of both the communities as well as the government, because we bring everything onto the table, and we help both of them make very informed decisions. So this position of neutrality, I think, needs to be really leveraged, and architects, I think, are the best people to do it. And I just hope that in this march towards smart cities, we will have a lot of smart architects getting involved in this journey. Thank you so much.